Hello again, everybody. Definitely had to go make sure I got me something to eat. Hope everyone's having a lovely morning, good breakfast, and all that jazz. Before I continue my story now, going into Georgia with it, I wanted to just give myself a formal of informals. Because last year when I had my first, I didn't get to. So, this is for me and my 28. Because I will be going into my 29, which is my DC year, very soon. So, I just wanted to share this with everyone. Because this is a snickerdoodle cupcake that I dearly am going to enjoy. Anyway, I'm not about to eat this right now, though. I'm about to eat this bacon, eggs, and French toast first. But yes, the journey to okay, I will later. Okay, yeah, let me finish my story. Yeah, so the journey to Georgia when I got to Atlanta. Now, there were some things that I didn't add in the process of talking about this, but it's still on friends to ends. And the basics of we see the problem, so what's the solution? Continuing where I left off. So my journey to Georgia, like I said, my mother helped me get situated down in Atlanta. I was living in Buckhead, Shoshone Bridge Road, right the street from Lenox Mall. I really liked that area, and it was only 15 minutes away from Georgia State. So starting school at Georgia State, I completely changed my major from business administration, which I was taking up at Morgan when I first started. But like I said, I realized I didn't need a business degree to do my businesses, right? So I was like, what can I utilize college for to learn how to, evolve into something, into one of the arenas that I want to get into. I didn't need college to learn how to do acting, dancing, or, music or writing, because those are things that I just naturally love to do. And I feel like creativity doesn't need to be taught. Yeah, period. I don't really know what else to say behind that, except that that's just how I view creativity. It should be a part of your natural being, to tap into your creative interests. So those were two things that I didn't need college for. So since I had been working at the hospital, I was like, how can I evolve into the arenas of either the nurses or the doctors, So I had a lot of nurses who would tell me when I was working at the hospital to either go the route that they were taking or go the whole mile to become a doctor. And actually, a lot of the nurses at the hospital I worked at DeKalb Medical down in Atlanta and at Baltimore Washington Medical Center, University of Maryland, they all used to encourage me to go to school to become a doctor. They said, just go the whole mile, just because of what I used to express to them were my interests. So from there, that's how I started to gauge my experience to try to prepare to go to medical school and all that. And that's how I learned and did research on the process in the US of how to get to medical school. I did look into universities like Ross Medical School. It was another one, I think it's It was another one that I was thinking about that wasn't US territory or in the US. And then there was a few schools in Puerto Rico as well that were medical schools that I was interested in. So all of those I had interest in and was considering going so that I could be able to get the credentials I needed. Because although I was, mixing and playing and stuff, chemistry was everything. I used to love, when I was going to Georgia State, I was able to be a chemistry tutor for the intro to chemistry principles as well as organic chemistry. But that wasn't my major. My major was biology. So when I was doing that, I was able to really get in tune with how, with the periodic table, really. Like the periodic table and associating that with like plants and things like that. So pretty much my experience at Georgia State consisted of transitioning from those degrees to taking up biology so that I could be able to learn more about the whole entire process of becoming a doctor. And I did look into things like changing gears and wanting to be a researcher, for instance, because I started to learn about the CDC in Atlanta and how they had different internship programs, different things that you could get into, different things, workshops that they would bring to Georgia State for the students to, be a part of. So I actually was really engaged with everything at that point when it came to medicine. But I didn't really have a lot of friends right out the gate when I got to Atlanta. I had a lot of associations, but because I had transferred not only colleges, but I also transferred Army units, and I transferred from the Maryland Guard to the Georgia Guard. So when I did that interstate transfer, I started meeting people first at my new drill unit. And I want to say LaGrange. That's where it was. My drill unit was not too far from Fort Benning and LaGrange, Georgia. So a lot of the things that we did were primarily in that area. Like I said, we did transportation from the Carolinas down to like Alabama type thing. But mostly we did a lot of, I can't even think of the terminology. I think it's PMCS, where you basically do maintenance checks on the vehicles and everything like that. Make sure that everything is intact with them. And these are the basic things about, I guess, what we needed to learn in order to, prepare for if we were to get sent somewhere and everything. We went through, of course, range duty allowed me to kind of learn about things that had to do with that area of possibly being on a deployment and things like that. But I never got deployed because I was always on the non-deployable contract while I was in school for ROTC. So ROTC was to become from enlisted to being a officer, which is basically enlisted side are like your NCOs. So your non-commissioned officers. They're like sergeants, master sergeant, first sergeant, staff sergeant. These are like the sergeants and everything like that, and they're the executors. These people have a lot of knowledge. They have a lot that they have experienced, and that's why I felt like they were always very wise people. And a lot of the people in my particular unit, like my sergeants and my squad leader, different stuff like that, they all encouraged me as a cadet in the unit to strive to become the lieutenant that I was trying to become. Because once you do become a commissioned officer, you become a second lieutenant, first lieutenant, captain, general. You get up there in the ranks as long as you stay in and you do your time to be able to be promotable, and you maintain your physical fitness in the PT test, and you maintain, of course, not doing anything that you shouldn't be doing, like drugs or, things that are not aligned with their policies. That's the whole point, is that it's a voluntary thing. So it's a choice to get into this service. So therefore, if you want what you're trying to get out of it, you have to make sure that you follow the policies, you follow the rules that are in place for that particular route of going through school, going through life, or just changing things about yourself. Like, it helped me to become more disciplined by being in the Army, for real. Like, it stopped me from making any more faulty decisions about, things that just were silly, going and stealing jewelry and stuff like that. Like, that's a silly fetish that a job or a placement of income would allow me to just go and buy the jewelry I wanted, type thing. But it wasn't like I was like obsessed or idolized jewelry. I just like jewelry. And my mom, she used to always have like bangles and stuff. And I used to be like, I want to get like a bunch of bangles and stuff too. Like, my mommy was my everything. So, but nowadays I can do with or without it. To the point where I want to go ahead and make my own damn jewelry, right? But anyways, Georgia State. Before I talk about the school, so the unit I was in, I made I had two friends in my particular platoon. One of them was my squad leader. I called them my friends because they took me out on the town down in Atlanta. What's the first club they took me to? They took me to Diamonds of Atlanta, and we just had fun. We went to Diamonds, we went to Blaze, and they spent money, and we just had fun with the dancers down there. And I didn't choose to get into dancing down there like I was doing when I was up, the DMV, because I was looking at it like I'm going down here for a specific purpose of finishing college, and only if I needed dancing I was going to, always have that to fall back on, right? But because I didn't really need it and the military was paying for what I needed, I didn't even, have to get too associated with it on the level of working there as much as I was doing up here. So pretty much after I got acquainted with more people in my unit, and there was a couple of girls that I was cool with, but me and one of the girls, where was she? She was from Nigeria, but I think she was in Georgia, was the first place that she got established in. It was either Georgia or another place down south. But yeah, me and her, we got really close, and she had gotten married over in deployment to her husband. They had twins. It was a beautiful story that she had. But me and her had a falling out over something. I don't even remember why we fell out, but we fell out over something, and it was just no more. We just weren't cool after that. Another friend I made, she was in the ROTC program with me at Georgia State. So this is also where I made a lot of close associations, as well as people that I could consider friends or I wanted to call friends. So there was a friend, like I said, that was in ROTC that actually she lived not too far from me, and she was from Dominica. And after meeting her, I was able to become more acquainted with other places in the West Indies. I mean, I knew that I had West Indian, origins, and I knew some of the foundations of that, but I didn't at that time. I wasn't really focused on that. So when I met her and I learned about Dominica, I was like, oh, I always wanted to, I always just wanted to go to Dominica. And I started twisting her brother's hair. Her brother had locks, so I just would, do his hair or whatever for about $40 or whatever, and that would help me, and I helped him. And I don't know, it was a cool relationship that I had with her and her family and her babies and her husband. And I was dating someone, and he ended up moving to Georgia too, when I forgot, it was like a few months deep before I was living down there, but then he finally moved down there too. So all of that, I was establishing relationships, friendships, mutual relationships, associations, stuff like that. I had met some other people, obviously, in the ROTC program. I got more close with a lot of people in that program because I seen them more. Now, the people in my unit, I only seen once a month or whatever, and then during the time that we would do the active 2-week training. But other than that, I was more close to a lot of people in the ROTC program at Georgia State because I was around them more. Now, I had a really close friend. Let me see. I have 3 friends that I had went to SeaWorld in Florida with, because we had complimentary passes to go to the park, Busch Gardens and all that. And we all just chose to take a trip down there. And it just was it was fun. And one of my friends that I went on this trip with, he, to this day, I love him so much, man, because we had did a PT run one morning, right? And this is how I test certain things to understand. I didn't really try to intentionally test it, but I always look back on certain things and just be like, people's actions show whether or not show the extent of how they, fuck with you for real. So we did this PT run, and I was tired, man. I ain't gonna lie, I was tired, but I tried to push it out, and I'm pushing it. Next thing you know, I fall slam down on my ankle. I don't know if any of y'all ever rolled your ankle, but rolling your ankle is the most painful thing ever. And it didn't hurt when it actually happened, because I guess because my adrenaline was so up and up that I didn't even think that it would bother me that I fell on my ankle the way I did. But when I tell you I fell, it was like my left ankle went like this. It was all she it was all she wrote. But here go me. I'm trying to keep up with the game. So I get up and I'm like, no, I'm gonna make it to the end. We only got a couple more. It was like a straight shot to the end of the thing. So I was like, I don't want to give up. I'm about to get there. So I ran, finished it, got to the end. I get in the car. I'm winding down. I'm thinking I'm gonna get home and be good. I get to my house. All I see is my ankle was swole. My ankle was literally swollen. And I tried to get out the car, and it's just like I moved my thigh and my daggone ankle was hurting. That's how bad the pain was. So I called my friend and I'm like, I need help. Because he told me when I first got to the school that he would, he was my, I guess, point of contact. Under my main point of contact, he was like another fellow cadet that I could depend on if I need, any type of questions or whatever, because he was a stand-up cadet. So I called him. I'm like, I know this is awkward and I don't know if you have the time, if you got class, but I really need help getting into my apartment. I said, I did not know and realize that after falling on my ankle like this, after all the adrenaline came down and I was relaxed, the pain literally just shot to my foot. And I just couldn't move. I couldn't even get out my car. So he comes, and this is why I say he's to this day, I still look at him like he's a friend. I don't care where he's at. I think he did aviation. You might be in Texas, whatever. But, shouts out to sending my love, because he came over there. He literally took me out the car and carried me up to my apartment and put me on the couch, put a pillow under me and everything. And just was like, he reported everything that was going on to the ROTC program for me, so that I could, get some help or whatever. And I ended up having to do like a little medical order or whatever and all that, whatever. But ultimately, that is a really good example of a friendship that and this is how I'm gonna look at it when it comes to friends to ends, right? They separated and we separated as a group of friends because of the fact that we all were in the military, and we understood that eventually we were going to go our separate ways. We would get duty stations, we would go get deployed, whatever it may be. So those types of friendships were able to last and are still to this day people that I can be connected to and am connected to, because we all understand that life has to go on with each individual that we meet in this particular work field. But thankfully for social media, I still have a way to be in contact with all of these people that I built relationships with from the military, regardless of me being in the service or not still. So that's why I look at friends to ends different after having this college experience, because after having this college experience and having a military experience, I was able to shift my mind frame from that whole cycle I had as a kid of, oh, I'm moving, so I'll never see you again. I grew out of that thought process when I was in the military, because of the fact that I realized, like, that's not the truth. I can see people that I knew before again. I can go back to places that I used to live and visit old friends and, rekindle or heal and mend relationships that may have been broken because of things that happened when we were kids. Like, and I'm never opposed to stuff like this, because I was never the type of person who grows and feels like those people that I knew before never existed. You know what I'm saying? Or that we never had a relationship. That's phony to me. So I'm always open to connecting and reconnecting with people. I do believe in letting go and cutting off relationships that are a detriment to you. Yeah. But I don't believe that people can't grow out of the ways that in which they were. And if people did things that were wrong, I'm a forgiving person. Like, I don't have time to be holding grudges to people about something that happened in 4th grade. Like, come on now. Like, I don't personally have the time for that. Like, it's so much that goes on in life that I just choose to grow out of certain things so that I can elevate, because those things become chains and blockages to the growth when you hold on to them. And when you really are like, this person did this to me, so I don't fool with them. Or this person did that, so their energy didn't. Like, I don't act like that. Like, I understand people. Like, we are human. We make mistakes. We make everybody can say that they have made an impulsive decision. Even if your ups and downs in life haven't been as hard as the next person, that doesn't mean that you just live this perfect life and nothing has ever, happened to you, or that you never, experienced being crossed or bamboozled or tricked or schemed or set up. Like, everybody has gone through things. And some people have gone through being the culprit of things happening to others too. So I just recognize that I'm not perfect, and that sometimes I was the problem, and sometimes I was my own problem. Sometimes I was in the way, or I was in my own way. I would never act like sometimes there were things that I should have just been like more focused on getting out of the way for, because I felt like it was something that was a part of my business. Everything ain't always my business that I want to be able to be a help to. So college really helped me to kind of gear my mind to understanding how to get more involved in I was always involved in my own life, but being more into my business rather than trying to help other people get their lives in order, and being this type of friend that's like, well, how can I be a help to you? And I don't know why that was like my personality, but that was just how I was. If I see my friends going through something, I'd be like, dang, like, what's going on? Talk to me. And if I could do anything, I would always try to just listen to them and their issues and see how I could be of a help. But there were times that if I couldn't, extend my neck to help, then I'm not going to. Like, when I moved out of my apartment once, I didn't want to give away certain furniture I had in my apartment for free. Matter of fact, I didn't want to give it away at all, because I was planning on getting another place and using that same furniture so that I didn't have to rush and buy new furniture yet. But like, another person that feels like, you, my friend, you should have gave it to me, is not going to understand why I make moves for myself first. I don't mind helping anyone, but I always make sure that I'm good first. And that's the difference between like how I was as a child and how I was as an adult. It's always that if I'm not good, I can't. Because if I keep giving and giving and giving while I'm not good, how am I going to be able to get back on my feet if if the people around me are people that I had to help? So they're not going to be able to help me. I'm not going to be able to look to them for the assistance when I need it. And I honestly don't like to have to, because I understand that everybody has cycles and phases and their own stuff to worry about. So, that might have put a bad taste in my friend's mouth, because I didn't want to just give her my stuff. But it was still mine. Just because I was getting rid of my apartment and moving didn't mean I didn't want my things. But anyway, and plus I needed the funds too. So I'm like, well, shoot, if you, think that you want my stuff, like, how much can you give me some coins for? Is that wrong to ask? Maybe I was wrong for that. But ultimately, it was probably a little stingy. It might have been a little selfish. But I was about to be living in my car again. So I was like, I'm about to put this in storage until I get a place. I'm not just handing off stuff for free right now. If I can make some coins off of this, help me out a little bit. You know what I mean? But ultimately, I digress on that. That happened later when I was moving out of Georgia back up to Maryland. So while I was down there, and those friends that I had told you about going to Florida with, to this day, I still feel like I don't have any type of anything against any of them, because we never had any falling outs. They had finished ROTC and they commissioned. They graduated. I came to their graduation and commissioning. I supported them down in Georgia State, because when I got kicked out of the program in Georgia State, that happened because of the fact that I had went through basically a domestic violence situation a month before I was supposed to go to the camp for ROTC. And that month was just crazy. He broke down my front door, the glass, and everything. And I needed to go to the hospital. So I called my commander at Georgia State at that battalion down there to ask him if I could get a later date to go to camp, or if I could get an extension on my PT test, because I was supposed to take a PT test that next day, and I was not ready. I had just went through a whole domestic violence situation. So I'm like, can I just get a second to recover for a second and then take this PT test next week? And then, and they looked at it like, oh, you're not fit to do camp, and so we're going to have to disenroll you. And they just gave me the boot without even blinking an eye. I ain't get no recommendations for no type of help and assistance in my situation. I didn't get any type of, recommendations or anything other than them voting me out of the program due to the fact that I was unfit because of my situation, and because I wasn't able to keep the PT test thing going. And I was failing a lot on the PT test because I wasn't physically or mentally stable. I was going down and down and down as all the things were occurring around me that were becoming more and more out of my control. And like I said, the guy I was dating up here, who I told y'all in the last video, my best friend, I found out later that she dated him, and then, whatever. He moved down Georgia, and then she also had moved down Georgia. So I'm thinking, oh, I got a support system, when really it was a whole bunch of drama. He put me in a predicament where I got disenrolled. But I say, I'm not gonna blame it on him. Let me rephrase that. I put myself in a predicament where I got disenrolled because I chose to be in a relationship with somebody who was obviously not down there for me. He was obviously down there for himself. I used to be in training, coming home, he got hickeys on his neck. He fooling around with anybody, mama and granddaughters. So he was doing whatever he wanted to do in Atlanta. I just didn't understand why you came down here at the expense of me paying my bills in my house for you to do this dumb stuff. But that's for a whole nother day. But ultimately, that's how I learned he's not really my friend. He didn't really want to be with me for any good reasons. And then pretty much my friend who was, like I said, down there too, she didn't choose to go to school or do anything. I don't even know what she was even doing. She didn't move to Atlanta. She moved to Warner Robins because her mother and them had a house still in Warner Robins. So mind you, she had a daughter, so that was my goddaughter, but her mom had taken the baby. So it was a time for her to recover, but it wasn't my job to help her recover. A person has to choose. Like I said, you can't make your friends do anything. You can't make anybody do anything if it's not yourself. You can give advice, you can give suggestions, you can show love, you can support whatever they do until they figure out what they really need to be doing. But it's not your job to make anyone make a decision about their own life. So no matter how much I tried to influence and encourage her to find a better route than what she was thinking that she wanted to take, it was ultimately her decision to take the routes that she took, right? So I had my own life and my own stuff I'm trying to focus on at this time. So now they get me out of the program. I was on a scholarship. So this put me in another position of debt because I was on a scholarship to commission, and y'all put me out the program. How am I going to be able to elevate myself if y'all put me out the program because somebody else put their hands on me and damaged my apartment? Like, how is that helping me at all? So at this point, I'm like, so the Army don't fuck with me. These jobs don't fuck with me because I was working at the hospital. And, rest in peace to my manager. I found out when I went down there in 2019 that he passed away. But him and his husband, I met his husband when I went down there in 2019. But he basically gave me what I needed to do. Mr. Mesker, that was his name. Yeah, he gave me what I needed to do to have a leave of absence. That's what it's called. So that I could work out a way to still finish my program with the Army. So I talked to some people in the program from Morgan, where I initially started ROTC, and tried to get back into the Bear Battalion so that I could finish what I started. So I get back to Baltimore to take a PT test that April, passed the PT test, and was able to pass all the other processes to get back enrolled in the Bear Battalion. And so that's what I did. I wasn't able to get another scholarship, and I was now in debt from the scholarship that I had lost from being kicked out of the Panther Battalion. So at this point, I'm like, I have to worry about the debts after I finish school and pay it back after I'm done. But I'm just trying to finish what I came to do. So I did the program at the Bear Battalion after the whole thing in Georgia. And even at the Bear Battalion, I had went through some ups and downs. I had joined Persian Angels. And I have no regrets about anything. So anything I speak on, I don't care how you take it. This is my story. So when I joined that particular organization, I had other things in mind, but I wanted and I desired the sisterhood that I was about to get into. And I have sisters, yes, I have siblings, but I didn't view the organization just for the sisterhood. I looked at it too for the drill and service, like the ceremony. I wanted to really get into what it was, with the meaning of it existing. Not to mention JA5 was founded at Morgan State. So I like things like that. I like establishing a legacy for myself, because this is my life. We all given a life to choose to build on or to waste away. So I was like, these are things that I wanted to have in my life. And as far as building people, a community of people that I could trust and lean on, I really did view, after doing my research on Persian, just the idea, and specifically my research on Persian at HBCUs. I want to be clear about that. I realized, that it was something that I grew to love, you know what I'm saying, throughout the whole process. So ultimately, that's what I realized. And as far as the line that I came from, and the line before me, I still have love for all of them, but it just was a experience that I realized when it comes to friendship. Here we go with friends to ends. Trustworthy people. I learned a lot about like just knowing how to trust people and different stuff like that. So mind you, there were other groups of friends that I had at ROTC at Georgia State too, right? So before I get too touchy back on moving back to Maryland, we still on Georgia. ROTC at Georgia also consisted of another few friends that I had, and one of them went to Clayton State, but she was still a part of Georgia State because Georgia State was the host school for Georgia State was the host school for Clark, Spelman, Morehouse, and Clayton State University. So a lot of people that went to those schools, I was able to meet. And a lot of the times that we did different things, I learned how to swim too in Georgia, so I don't have anything against like the program that at Georgia State. I absolutely loved it. When I got to the school at Georgia State, the commander that was there that initially got me into program, what was it, I think his last name was Kang or Chang, but either way, they all helped me to get into the program. But then when the new commander came in, he ain't like me to save his life. So I pretty much, had a hard time. And by the time, like I said, I had gotten kicked out for the reasons I did, I just felt like they weren't justified. Because if I'm going through domestic violence, why would you think putting me out of the program and taking my scholarship away is going to help me? But it's neither here nor there. I just wanted to say, like, when it comes to moral standards and principles, I feel like some people are lacking the actual integrity that they think that they're evoking, and it just was a mess to me. Hopefully they change some things though to actually assist people rather than to harm people, because I was still going through training, so I was still learning as well, But shouts out to the one captain and commander who was actually also 88 Mike. Captain Combs, he always, even after I was going through this, pushed me into the right places to protect myself. And yeah, that was one of the main things that I needed, is just somebody to just direct me, because a lot of people that go through domestic violence don't know, for one, that that's what it is. Most women who go through domestic violence also, or people, because men go through domestic violence too. So a lot of people who go through domestic violence, they don't even know that that's what they're experiencing sometimes, because like when you're in the relationship and you're dealing with somebody that you think that you think loves you and you love this person, you don't know that they're doing something to intentionally hurt you. You feel like, if they shed a tear after they cuss you out or they put their hands on you, you think like, oh, you was just tripping. So you kind of brush it off. It depends on the type of person you are, though. I don't think too deeply into people acting on their emotions, because you can tell the difference between somebody's seriously speaking something and somebody just seriously speaking off of their emotions. So I was like able to get a lot of protective order and a lot of just protection in general from asking questions about what to do, doing research about what to do when you're finding out that you're in a relationship that is a danger to your life, So that was something else that I really did need to give my attention to. So it could have been good or bad that they kicked me out of the program. I feel like it was bad because, like I said, it put me in a worser depression, worser situation. But that's just how the Army chose to handle my particular domestic violence situation when I was going through this particular process. I had a mentor also who was prior service Navy, who was a doctor at DeKalb Medical Center. Dr. Barrow, shouts out to Dr. Barrow. He really was a good mentor, a good guide. He showed me some things on the business side, but he also showed me some things on the more, I guess, worldly and personal side, as far as like how to redirect my attention. And shouts out to my uncle too, who is also my godfather down there, Dr. McFadden. He also pushed me into the mentality of I can't be focused on anything else right now but getting on my feet. So that was what I was trying to do. I wasn't worried about no boys. I wasn't worried about getting into no relationship or committing nothing after I went through that domestic violence relationship and tried to get back on my feet. But I didn't want to dwell. I didn't want to stay stuck, in trying to get back on my feet. So I had ended up getting another apartment finally, and going and getting stuff from the other apartment that I felt as though belonged to me, like one of the TVs out of the two that we bought. And yeah, that's what I did, because a lot of the stuff that was down there I needed for my apartment. And I'm like, you moved all the way down here to what, leech off of me? I never to this day understood why he moved to Georgia, because he didn't do anything to help me. So it was just like, you just down here like leeching and hanging out and playing video games on my couch. Like, don't you got a mother house that you can go back to and do that? And that's honestly how I felt. So it was like, I didn't understand why he was trying to put me in a predicament to drag me down from where I was trying to elevate. And yeah, I learned from that. But while I was learning from that, I didn't learn all of the things that I needed to process from that experience. So life went on, and I met someone else. And I had also around this time met my friend Jasmine at Georgia State. And that friendship was also something that I feel like was starting a reparation for the friendship that I had with my other friend who had moved down Georgia, that I had met, from high school. And it was like, my friend Jasmine, she was, she was from Atlanta. So, and I got acquainted with her family and her father. They all took me in like, a secondary family outside of, the family I had down there in Georgia. This was an extended family for me, because my friend Jasmine we met we were in organic chemistry. We were in organic chemistry class, and I think I asked her if she took notes on one of the days I fell asleep or something like that, baby. And we exchanged numbers and information. We did a group thing together, and we just ended up becoming really close. And so that's a friend that I met in college and built a relationship with. So after meeting her, we started really going out, and doing things together, and helping each other with school stuff. And I met some other people throughout this process, as far as, people who were in the same program as me, the same major and degree program. And we all kind of had our own way of thinking of how we were going to go with the direction of being science majors. Jasmine had her own, I think forensics and stuff like that was more of her interest when it came to why she wanted that particular degree. But we ultimately knew that we had goals and end goals. So that was good to be around. And this is a good way to explain friendships that don't come to ends, but they may come to separational periods, because growth is always important. But a true friendship is one that is designed to allow one another to grow. She was a very good friend to me because of the fact that she gave me room often, and I was automatically giving her room often too. And we were very transparent with each other when we spoke to each other. We didn't overstep one another. Sometimes she didn't want to talk about things, and she just let things ride by, and she probably had her own intuitive conceptions and perceptions about certain things. But other than that, that was like, just like my friend that I told y'all I met in high school, who mother picked me up and took me in track practice and all that. This now was another family that I had gained closeness with, and all of them were in Georgia. So even my other friend, when she had like a baby shower, different stuff like that, I was present for these things because these were monumental times in her life. Like, and I was there, and it was fun. I was able to meet her family too when we were in Georgia, and her grandmother took me. And listen, when we got to Georgia, when me and my mother was down in Georgia, my best friend that I met from high school, her grandmother took me and my mother in like we was hers. Like we was her other daughter and granddaughter. Like she gave us a room. She gave us directions to places. She gave us, a ride to places. She gave us food, and she just really helped my transition into Georgia and gave my mother comfort with me transitioning into Georgia. And, may she rest in heaven. But she was a very, very sweet woman. And she showed me a lot too. So I'm not just going to speak on the older men that taught me stuff. Like this woman showed me, because I told her I was interested in opening a business one day. So she showed me how she runs her business, and she was doing a tax business and stuff like that. She worked with like stuff like that, like doing people's taxes and I think insurance and stuff like that. So she really helped me to learn how to do my own taxes and how to make sure that I'm keeping up with certain things. Not the whole gist of it, but she gave me the basics, right? And my friend's mom was the one that was doing my taxes for some years anyway. So that's how I learned how to eventually do it myself. So when all of this was going on, she also helped me to... So yeah, my other friend, her family basically also was another family with my best friend's family in Georgia that I had. So I would have a lot of people that I could go to, as far as, a lot of older women too down there that were in their families. My friend's aunt was another woman. She worked for the police force in Atlanta. So I had a lot of... she was another person I could go to, when I had questions about things or needed help understanding certain things. But like I said, it was certain things that I didn't like to disclose because I felt like domestic violence was an embarrassing thing. So I didn't talk a lot about this to a lot of people. But with my friend Jasmine, when I expressed to her what was going on with me and the boy and how he was abusive and all that when I was down there, she helped me move into my other apartment. Her and I had a friend, LeBrandon. He helped me move in, and then my best friend, Dana. So all of us, they all helped me move into my new apartment. I met LeBrandon through this program I did at Georgia State called Team AmeriCorps. And LeBrandon was cool. He said he was Polo the Don's nephew. So yeah, he was cool. Like LeBrandon and my best friend ended up, they were close. I don't know what they did. It was their business. But ultimately, love is love. So I was just happy that they could connect on any level that they could connect on. And when they helped me move, but the way I met LeBron is through AmeriCorps. I also met Chantel. That was another friend that I had down there. And I stayed with her for a period of time too when I was in transition. So, it was a lot of transitioning going on, a lot of getting myself in order. But I had people that I can say in Atlanta that were friends that I could lean on. I was there for Chantel when she had got married, her bachelorette party. I was there when, that happened too. It was a fortunate night. Some guy decided to buy the bar for me. So I said, no, you buying the bar for my friend because it's her bachelorette party. He turned up then. Shoot, he didn't care. He must have been rich or something. But ultimately, all I remember is it just was always like a give and take with my friends down there. Like it was always I show love, they show love. I go through something, they got my back. They go through something, I would have theirs. But it was a constant learning thing, because all of us were growing. It's not like they were my elders or nothing. They were just friends who, when I was down at that time, I can say that I had them to lean on. I wasn't always left alone down there. And my uncle and my aunt, like I said, also had taken me in down there, and they lived out Gwinnett County somewhere. So yeah, it was a bomb experience being down in Georgia, because ultimately no matter how it looked then or how much it seemed so hard or whatever because of having to live out of storage units, it was a period of time where I literally, it was me, my car. At the time I had a Nissan Maxima. You know, I miss my baby. But yeah, I had a Nissan Maxima. I had finally upgraded to a Nissan Maxima around the time that I thought I was going to be graduating from GSU in 2016. And I wanted to upgrade to an Audi, but I didn't get the chance to at that time. And unfortunately, Georgia State didn't want to award me my degree because they claimed that I still had coursework to complete. So I'm still wanting to complete that, but ultimately it didn't happen. And when I had that I should be eating my breakfast. When I had moved, I still had my Maxima. So at this point, I'm getting back on my feet. So then I met someone else who was from Miami. He comes in there, and I told this dude, like, listen, I'm a little damaged because I'm trying to recover from an abusive relationship, and this person cheated and this and that and third. Of course, I was victimizing myself because I felt like, you know, I had been broken and I needed reparation. I needed to heal. But he didn't approach me with the intentions of being a friend at all. Of course, which is fine. I understand now that I guess guys don't want to be females' friends, according to Kevin Samuels. The Kevin Samuels crew type people don't want to be females' friends. I can't speak for all men because I'm not a man for one, and I don't know what all men think because I'm not in everybody else's head. I'm only in my own. But that's why I be looking for transparency though, because people play games way too much. It's not necessary, honestly. But after I realized that I had to, even then I didn't really realize that I had to start like paying attention to my surroundings and who I call my friend. But he did do this one thing by, and this is something that I would say, whether he knew or not, this was something that I feel as though was a friendly type thing. He could see things about certain people that I called my friends that I couldn't see. So he would tell me like, are you sure that person your friend? No, they're not your friend. And he'll be like, nah, that person not your friend. And I'd be like, well, how do you know that? Why are you saying that? Like, we've been friends since high school. He'd tell me reasons and stuff. And because I would just be like so in denial, I'd be like, well, I'm just going to have to see that myself. And lo and behold, a couple years later, I saw it myself because, you know, I get married and then she was like more rejective about me getting married and was almost like, why are you getting married? And, you know, why are you going to do this? And this is not what you want. And it just was like, I did always want marriage. I just never talked about it every day because you can want something. That doesn't mean you talk about it every day. You just be patient and let it come to you, right? So I thought that I was where I needed to be. But when I got married, when I had returned, you know, to Maryland and found, you know, got into that situation, I was dancing, this, that, and the third, yeah. But I was willing to make certain sacrifices for the things I was doing to be able to align myself with the person I was marrying. And I had already made sacrifices before, so that wasn't like a thing to me that I was afraid to do for building the foundation with somebody that I was seeking to build. But that was before I even, okay, so that marriage thing happened when I had got back to the DMV area and got back into school and got back into ROTC, started dancing again because I didn't have a scholarship at this point. And yeah, I was just trying to finish school. And I met him through the working of dancing. So when I was able to see that down in Atlanta, I was starting to get the boot pretty much. Because it was like every little thing I was doing, it wasn't really working out for me anymore, right? And the friendships I had seemed to start falling a little slim. So I was like, okay, time for everybody was starting to shift down there into their purpose and get into where they needed to be. And at that point, it was like, all right, well, I need to now start focusing on me again. And when I got in touch with now there was some other people, like I said, down in Atlanta that I was cool with. There was never no abrupt or direct ending to any friendships that I had down there, other than the one friendship with my best friend that ended when we were up DMV area. And that has a different story that I'll talk about when I get to the part about what happened when I moved back to the DMV. So yeah, Atlanta, I'm trying to think what other friend circles I had. Definitely met some people when I was working at the hospital. Met people through going to events with my friend. Like I said, me and my best friend, when we try to go to, where was we going? Fort Valley for a concert. At this time, the Migos was, doing local performances and stuff like that. It was like 2012, 2013, something like that. So we were going and seeing different events. At that time, I always liked music, so I love going to like Edgewood. If y'all down in Atlanta, or you from Atlanta, or you just know like the areas that you could go to be involved in the scene and all that. So it was always, we would go out to Peter Street. We'd be on Edgewood for this. I forgot the name of the club, but the reason I found out about this particular club that did showcases is because my friend Slick that I met, who's also in the Army, he did performances in music and stuff like that. So I supported what he was doing, and I would go see him at the showcases when he would come up from Macon and do performances and stuff in Atlanta. Where else? It's a lot of other places, because Atlanta has a lot of places that you can, do your art. Oh, I love me some Apache, the old Apache. I used to always be in the old Apache because they always had like just new hot talent. They had people coming in there and doing, spoken word. They would have people do the art while they're doing spoken word, do song, free speech, free poetry, that kind of stuff. People who had established visual music or different stuff, they would come bring their album and do full performances. And it was a vibe, not just with the person on the stage, but with the people in the audience. That's why I love the energy of Apache and other types of places like that down in Atlanta when I was down there, because being in the arts, you got to be free in your art expression. And everybody down there who was an artist understood the growth of a creator. Like, they respected another creator. It was never a disrespectful environment to me. And that's why I embraced it so much, because it was always comfortable to be in those particular places while I was down there. So it definitely planted seeds in me. That's why doing my music now, I'm so comfortable, because I was already in these particular environments that nurtured that part of me. So by the time I had, got back up to the DMV area, I was just focused on finishing and closing out that chapter of college that I didn't get to complete in Georgia. So after going through the ups and downs with the person that I dated after the domestic violence relationship, I wasn't focused on being in no actual relationship. So whatever went on and what went wrong or right, I honestly am over it. That person knows the truth, and I know the truth. Period. It's nothing to be discussed anymore, because I'm past it and I've grown from it, and I was able to accept, forgive, and heal from that whole situation. So there's nothing that I need to look back on about that, because I already internalized where I went wrong. After blaming him and all that for not being communicable enough and being understanding enough of the fact that I wasn't trying to rush into anything, I realized that ultimately I was the one who needed to be more firm about what I was saying and act on that, And a part of me being celibate now and taking on this abstinent journey, like consciously, is because I really desire to be able to connect with people, as far as men, on levels that is in an energy where that type of energy of sex, I love sensuality and sex and all that, whatever, it's cool, but I just wanted a break from that being something that is on my energy. My sensuality was very, I feel like, loud, because of the arenas that I was in and the things that I was doing, behind closed doors and outside. So I was like, let me just take a step back from that. But that didn't come, the celibacy journey and abstinence didn't come until after I got a divorce in 2019. So I think I'm gonna do another one and post this one so that, you know, I can give myself the chance to actually eat, because I was supposed to be eating, but I just been talking about, you know, friendships, and we see the problem. So what's the solution? So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in with me, and I'll be back in a second.